No pancakes are complete without maple syrup, but much like a canary in a coal mine, the maple syrup industry is a sign that if we don't act soon, we'll have to live with the consequences.
We take the drill into the tree, 1.5 inches. Slight angle. You'll see the sap running out because it's a nice day today. Put the bucket on. You can see it's running quite aggressively here.
Ray isn't the only farmer noticing changes. For an industry so reliant on Mother Nature, erraticness in the weather is increasing the risk of a bad year.
If every year is a bad year, it quickly becomes economically impossible to farm successfully. I'm Lenore Newman. I am the director of the Food and Agriculture Institute at the University of the Fraser Valley, and also a Canada Research Chair in Food Security. Climate change is posing a lot of challenges to the food system in particular. So we really get a bit of a 1-2 punch from climate change. What we're seeing is, yes, it's getting warmer overall, and that is a challenge. The real problem is the disruption of the climate. The erraticness in the weather, that is a big question, but a good way to visualize it is imagine a pot of water on the stove. And as you bring it up to boiling, at first it's really calm, it's just sitting there, then you might get a little bit of steaming. But as you get near to boiling, it starts to get quite erratic and it starts to get a lot more violent. There's more energy in the system. And we see the same thing with climate. The warmer it gets, the more energetic the atmosphere is. The bigger the storms, the deeper the droughts, and the more severe the disruption.
Can you tell me a little bit about another big problem that climate change is causing, the threat of invasive species, especially to those in the arboreal industries?
Yes, and so one of the things that's happening is as the climate gets warmer, species that can move are moving. So in case of Canada, we're very cold usually, and that cold weather really is almost like a barrier to certain species thriving here. And as it gets warmer, we're seeing species we never saw before.
Invasive species are a huge worry for maple syrup farmers like Ray. As Dr. Newman explains, species are moving with a warming climate and pose a threat to an otherwise healthy forest. Species that undermine the health of sugar bushes include gypsy moths, eastern tent caterpillars, Asian longhorn beetles, and the emerald ash borer.
As Dr. Newman explains, maple syrup farming is a largely non-invasive practice, but when humans enter the forest, they have an effect much like the invasive species that Ray worries about.
Maple farming is a wonderful industry. It's also it's kind of an unusual one in that it's one of the only places where in the food system where humans are a bit of a parasite. It's very non-invasive to the forest, but these woodlots, these sugar bushes, are pockets of undisturbed nature, often old growth forest that has never been logged or very lightly logged, and often is a bit of a haven for birds and animal life. So as far as natural reserves go, the sugar bushes are really critical.
So this is called an afforested area. This was previously farmed, plowed, and oats were growing. It loosens the soil. Maple loves a nice loose soil. These then grew up naturally. I generally have thinned those a little wee small area to make room for the maples to grow.
The story of maple syrup is older than Canada itself, with Indigenous people tapping trees for the sugar within long before contact with Europeans.
People have been doing that for thousands of years. The indigenous peoples of the Laurentian region made maple and taught settlers how to make maple. And it's a time-honored tradition. And when we think of it, we tend to think of, there's still snow on the ground, and yet it is warmer in the day, but it's cold at night. That is when maple trees thrive. And what we're seeing is, first of all, that's happening earlier and earlier.
What exactly is the Maple Belt and how is it moving northwards?
So there is a region in eastern Canada where sugar maples grow and are endemic too. And they don't grow anywhere else on Earth naturally. And we don't find maple trees of the sugar variety in the west of Canada. Just in that one region, in around the Great Lakes, St. Lawrence. So you do kind of need to keep this industry close to those cities for it to thrive. And we might see some production shift north, but I think we lose a lot of the cultural element.
How can the maple syrup industry be used to message the real threat that Canadians face around climate change?
Yes, and I do feel the culinary elements, people do care. They care a lot about food, and it sort of hits them when it's disrupted. So I think, it's not the silver bullet to get everyone to realize that we need to make some significant changes on a very large scale, but it is kind of a wake-up call when we go to buy something and it's very expensive, or it's simply not there. It is a feeling that something is quite unusual and that things are not normal. So I think it's like one little signal in a sort of little symphony of canaries saying we need to pay attention now.
Ray's Farm is a Forest Stewardship Council certified forest committed to sustainable business practices. Although not increasing his profits, his green approach gives his customers confidence in his product and underscores his commitment to nature.
That diversity is under threat as climate change accelerates. Ray is just one of many who hopes that his sustainable business practices will be a part of the solution. Without drastic action to curb the effects of climate change, dried pancakes will be the least of our concerns.